Going live. Join the party.
You're listening to Smashing the Party. This is your host, Nate Baumberger.
Welcome. I'm hoping that you can hear me, that you can see me, that you're not watching stutter steps. Good evening, folks. Welcome to Smashing the Party. This is Nightcap. This is my little show where I rant and rave about stuff. And last night, if you watched or tried to watch or tried to listen, you had a horrible experience. And for that, I apologize. I chastise my team. Like I told you yesterday, I have a team of engineers, a team of designers, a team of researchers working on it. And I'm hoping that it's fixed. I'm going to revisit the topic that I did yesterday because it's that important. Some folks reached out to me and said they'd love to hear what I had to say about it. I thought it was a good podcast. I don't know if I'll be able to replicate the pure stamina and strength and power that I had last night, but we're going to try. And I'm just going to rehash what I talked about last night. So if you did try to listen, maybe you'll actually understand something today. Project 25. Why I think it's important. You may have heard it in the news. You may have seen some TikToks or reels with some senators grilling some folks asking, hey, are you part of Project 2025? And them kind of mumbling, yes, that's me. You know, they're hiding it. But what is Project 25? And if you didn't watch last night, I'm going to say that for the 10th time. Or you don't do any research like most people and you just hear things and you just trust your party. We're going to dive into it, and I'm going to dive into the fact that Democrats are losing their fucking mind about it, okay? They're going apeshit, and I didn't know what Project 2025 is. If I'm just looking at social media, I'm thinking it's, you know, the final solution part 2. And so, of course, you got to investigate. Even when the party that I support are screaming and yelling about something, I don't just go along with it. I remember, perfect example, Governor Cuomo. Everyone was like fawning over him, like swooning. And I remember thinking, I don't know anything about this guy. Well, sure enough, stuff came out. And I'm not saying that makes him a bad governor. But anytime the party starts to rally around something, good or bad, I have to dig in. So Project 2025 is the new fear factor coming out of the left. And I want to know what it was. I mean, it can't be that bad, right? Republicans are putting it front and center. It is odd to see folks kind of shy away from ownership. But what is it? Let's dive into it. Project 2025, as I understand it, is the presidential transition project that was whipped up by the Heritage Foundation. You're probably like, what the fuck is the Heritage Foundation? Well, we did a little research. My team dove in. If you don't know, if you've been under a cave or maybe you don't pay attention, that's not a bad thing. You're doing your job. You're living. You're trying to thrive. You may not have heard of the Heritage Foundation, but Heritage Foundation is one of the largest conservative think tanks. What's a think tank? It's when rich people that have money, not rich as in, people that you know around here probably. Maybe there's a couple. But folks that have endowment money, trust fund money, college, we can build a wing off the college money. They take that money, they put it together, and they create think tanks. What's a think tank for them? Well, for you and me, it'd be like having a whole army of folks concentrating on creating and crafting policies that are good for Nate Baumberger, for me. So if I had a think tank, it'd be Nate Baumberger's think tank. Please tell me we're not muted. Please tell me we're not muted. And let me see if I have any. No one's even giving me a hint whether or not I'm live, but maybe someone will text me and say, hey, you're good. I don't know, folks. But anyway, Heritage Fund. What is it? What is a think tank? Think tanks are rich people's way to use their money. This was prior to, by the way, Citizens United. I don't even know if we're going to have any new think tanks. That's a whole nother thing. Maybe we talk about that today. Who knows? We're just going to try to rehash what we talked about yesterday and stay focused. Project 2025, Heritage Foundation, largest conservative think tank. Think tanks are like rich people's concentration of intellectual effort to craft or influence public opinion or policy. That's not a dictionary definition. That's just one I came up with, but it sounds pretty official, right? And it really is just something rich people have. They fund or they get together, or in organizations might get together and put together brains, academics, experts, scholars, and pay them to craft agenda, marketing material, and ultimately legislation that's going to help further their interests. You and I don't have a think tank. It'd be nice. Think tanks then align with the party. So Heritage Foundation was founded by a bunch of conservatives that wanted to maintain the conservative Christian values and the ethos of their beliefs. And they figured they would create a think tank to infuse this. This also came about during the time when we had a lot of folks considering, integrating church and state. 1956 was, I think, when we put In God We Trust on bills. So we had this kind of revolution of folks that were really into infusing my religious beliefs and my morality into legislation. So this is how these things come up. This is all just backstory to help you understand how Project 2025 came up. So it was given birth by one of these organizations, in particular, Heritage Foundation. Now, Heritage Foundation has a history. If you're all up in the shit, you may know who the Heritage Foundation is, and you may have heard some of their shenanigans before. They did come up with a component of Obamacare that was interesting. Part of the mandate came from some of the research that the Heritage Foundation did, which is so crazy because they fought against the mandate, but the mandate was required to compel people to get involved because the math of insurance works by the largest pool. So Republicans had to come up with a way to force everybody in the pool because we're not going to make it public, right? So this was their solution. It's so fucking weird, but they had to jump through hoops to come up with a way to compel people to spread the risk over a larger pool. And then Obamacare ended up taking a lot of these conservative principles again and kind of injecting them into their and it was reform, but that mandate in particular was a particular interesting component that then Republicans fought against. And why do I tell you all that? Because it came out of the Heritage Foundation. That was a component of it. It wasn't the whole thing. Someone's going to argue, well, that wasn't that. If you look at the Heritage Foundation and their articulation of their desire for fixing healthcare, you'll see that they talk about the mandate in there. And that was something that they were willing to talk about. I don't know if that was forced policy, but the only way to compel people was that. All right, I'm getting off the tangent, but healthcare is a soft spot for me. It's part of the life, liberty, pursuit of happiness gig that I talk about. But Project 2025 comes from this mother of a think tank, all doing conservative things. They started out doing tax reform and things that rich people want. Anytime you hear tax reform, do not think it's for you. Maybe we'll get a tax break for a little bit. When they're talking about tax reform, they're not talking about the things that you and I want. They're talking about reducing tax for rich people. But before I go down that path, let's dive into it. And before I go down that path, I got to digress and give you the backstory of the backstory. And the backstory is that this is important because it's the first time since 2016 Republicans have actually put their policy out there so we can look at. Before it was just things they said in campaigns. And of course, Donald Trump is whichever the way the wind blows. And the reason for that is 2016, when the Republican Party was building up momentum to fight against Hillary Clinton and also use Russia to supplant their candidate. I said it. Read the fucking document. When they did that, Republicans then did the normal thing that Republicans and parties do, in that they elect they go through their primary process, and then their Their party puts together a platform, which then they sign off on at the convention. So this becomes the North Star, as I said yesterday, for that party. Everyone does it. Every party does it every 4 years or every 2 years or whenever, and they make additions and things depending on the zeitgeist and the spirit of the times or whatever. But why is that important? Nate, you're off the rails today. No, I'm not. I'm right on, going 100 miles an hour right into my point, which is 2016, all business as usual. Of course, not really. We're still electing a buffoon. Sorry, Donald. I know you watch. We're still electing a buffoon. Inside the office, outside the office, you're fine. You're fine in Mar-a-Lago's, your little estate. And so at that point, the Republican Party lost their way. And I shit you not, that when it came time to write the Republican platform in 2020, they copy pasted 2016's document, changed a couple things, did a quick search and find and replace, and then put it up at the top. I want to lick Donald Trump's anus and do whatever he says. I didn't print that. I know it's inappropriate. I'm trying to stay clean. But if you read the document of 2016, it's a carbon copy of 2020. Sorry, if you read the document of 2020, it's a carbon copy of 2016 with some asterisks suggesting the Republican Party are going to stick their heads so far up Donald Trump's ass. I wasn't sure if they used the word ass or anus. But if you look at the document, that's it. It even has references to when Obama was in office as if he was the last president. In 2020, that wasn't the case. It was Trump. They copy-pasted. They did no work. They aligned, they codified in that document that they would begin to fellate and do awful, really inappropriate things with Donald Trump's butthole. And that's what we're looking at today. They've not gotten out of his butthole. They're still part one of his ass. I don't know how it's done. I don't know how they get their fucking heads up there, but there's no difference. And it started in 2016. There's no fucking difference between the Republican Party and Donald Trump's ass, because in 2016 or 2020, they wrote at the top of the document, we are now part of Donald Trump's ass. We don't care about anything else. Copy paste from 2016. No new thoughts, no new ideas. Nothing's changed. And so they didn't have a platform. I'm saying all those funny duddy jokes because they didn't have a fucking platform in 2016. And it was unprecedented to not have a platform or put something out. And then to put something out, they put something out, but it was a copy paste job. It's fucking weird. Read it. It's bizarre. So now we're at 2024. We've got the fucking criminal president running again. Of course, they've not got their heads out of his ass. I mean, they're dressing up, trying to role play for another polyp deeper in his ass for vice president. It's crazy. So we're not seeing anything different. So I was intrigued with the fact, and if you watch this show, as you should, go back to the crazy videos when I was totally off hinge. If you think I'm off hinge now, it was fucking wacky. I talk about the fact that I can't believe the Republicans are electing people and we don't even know what they're going to do because they haven't refreshed their. We do know what they're going to do because I read it. It says lick Donald Trump's bunghole, or I don't know if they used the word bunghole, but it was some kind of inappropriate term indicating that they were going to become part of his butt. And as you see, you can't tell the difference between a Republican and Trump right now. I'm sorry if you're in that category and you're a never Trumper. Your party's dead. It's part of Trump. It's a polyp in Trump's butthole. He uses Depends. He gets it out. That's what Republicans are. He wipes his butt with the Republican Party. He uses their money to pay his legal fees. There's no difference between Donald Trump and the Republican Party. It's okay. That's what you wanted. That's what you codified in 2016. So I was intrigued with 2025. I'm hearing all the bad things that people say about it. Democrats are losing their mind. I got to say, well, they didn't put a lot of thought in 2016. So what the fuck could they have done to change things up for Project 2025? Sorry, Project 2020, they did nothing. So I'm just thinking, okay, they're going to copy paste and do some shit. Well, Republicans or Democrats are losing their mind. And so I had to read it. I had to find out what was going on. I'm seeing nobody streaming, so it's a good chance that I'm not fucking, there's no sound. Let me just check and take a pause. Maybe just nobody's listening, which is cool too. I just don't want no sound. That was like a horrible night's sleep looking at this and saying, oh my God, where's my sound? Yeah, I don't see anything different, but so I had to read. Oh yeah, it is there. I'm seeing nobody streaming. Okay, cool. We got sound. All right, I'm gonna calm down. Fuck, sound's there. All right, cool. I was just checking the sound. I was on a roll too. I was talking about Project 2025. Let me get back into the mode. So 2016, we get the Republican convention. We get a normal platform. 2020, they say, fuck it. They go with Donald Trump with some asterisks about his butthole. Really a rehash. And there's even references to Obama. 2025, I'm intrigued. I want to see what they're doing. Now, before I go down there, let's talk. This is why I'm so befuddled how Republicans get any votes. They rail against government that they hate and say it's all bad, but yet they want they want to run this thing that they think's horrible, and we are supposed to trust them to run it well when they hate it. This whole fucking thing's ironic anyway, but that's not where I'm going. It's how they always say the same shit. It's always ambiguous and nothing gets done. Let's go through first. Let's go through the 2016. This isn't going to be boring. Stay with me. I'm just going to summarize the shit out of these documents so that your attention deficit, which I also have, will get to your fucking 3-second TikTok videos. You can't do my long form. If you're still here, fuck. You're amazing. You're a warrior. You're all-star. Send me a message. Let me know, hey, I'm the real one. That's how I feel, because people don't watch the lives. But if you watch this show before, you know how I feel about the 2020. I was really railing about 2020. So I investigate. Let's talk. Let's look at what 2015, 2016, 2020 was. And let's see why it would change. Okay. So if we go back, and I did some analysis, I had my team do some analysis. And so let's talk about, let me pull up my document. I'm going to talk about what was in the Republican platform in 2016, okay? Doesn't sound bad, and so we're hoping that Republican Party hasn't lost their way and maybe gotten radical, and so Democrats are just losing their mind over Project 2025 for no reason. 2016, economic growth. Okay, well, they always said tax reform. Boom. They always got to throw the tax reform in there. Proposed simplifying the tax code. That was what they were going to do in 2016. That's bullshit. They're not going to simplify the tax code because that means they'd have to unwind a lot of loopholes. Loopholes aren't for you and me. Okay, I'm not going to go through every fucking point in this thing and refute it. But they did nothing. The only tax reform they do, again, when they say tax reform, they mean lower taxes for rich people and corporations. Again, lowering tax rates to encourage investment and eliminating special interest provisions. Come on. Free market. Emphasize the importance of free market economy, normal Republican shit, reducing government regulations. This one's a fucking crazy one. I hate when they say this one. Government regulations. What are government regulations ever coming about? Like, I've never been like, oh man, I can't do this thing because of government regulations, except for drugs, by the way, which again, I agree with reducing government regulation on anything that should be a health issue for real, including women's rights. See how that easily aligns? I don't have to rethink my position. I don't have to tie myself in a pretzel trying to figure it out. It just all fucking works. It makes sense. Women's health, privacy. Okay, let it go. All makes sense. It's not inconsistent. It's not like, oh, wow, my choice, my body, and now I get to fucking send my kid and ban books and shit. Weird ass analogies you guys make. And I say you guys because most of my fans are Republicans. I don't know why, but it's great. And I love you. Stay stay. You're going to fucking learn today, all right? 2016, your party was talking about the shit they were going to do in 2020. Were they successful? Tax reform, free market, encourage private investment, reduce the size of government. Absolutely, spending was out of control. Advocate for smaller federal government, reduce spending, fewer regulations. Always regulations. All that means is they want big companies to not have to test their water. Nestle to fucking own all the water and poison it and not have to fucking regulate it. That's what the fuck they want, big businesses, okay? So I get frustrated. I'm like, okay, 2016, you can already see my face. I'm scowling. I don't even think I have I should get one of my filters up. You know, it's just ridiculous. What does it mean when you say limited regulation? I don't go through my life like, oh man, all this regulation. It's businesses. They want to reduce businesses, and most of the time that comes in the form of consumer protections. So stupid. Oh, here we go. 2016, they're going to repeal the ACA. They're calling for the repeal of the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare, replace it with a free market solution. Free market solutions. They were also planning on Medicare reform, and they were going to propose restructuring Medicare reform, Medicaid. Anytime they say restructuring, it just makes me think, what do you mean by restructuring? If you're on Medicaid, you want more funding. What does restructure? It means less. I mean, reduce it or privatize it or something to put money in the pocket, because we can't have anything in this fucking country that doesn't serve the almighty profit. It can't just be a service that serves humanity or lengthens your life, for God forbid. I mean, look at diabetes. China's right now curing it while we're fucking sucking people's money. A cure in China. Do you know about it? Google it. Too much money there. Too much money to have a cure for diabetes in the United States. Fucking bet. No capping, motherfucker. I said it. Look at me, all that Riz. I fucking hate that shit. I just did it for the youngsters, okay? This may get on TikTok and they'll be like, oh, he said Riz. He said no capping. Wow, he's hip. I wear ankle socks, okay? Yeah, ankle socks are fucking going out. I don't get it. I'll get back to the topic. Energy and environment. Don't forget about the ACA. Let me just come back to the ACA point. How long have they been saying repeal and replace, okay? And everyone gets excited about it. And we know it sucks because they've done the thing that they do when they don't like a policy, and that's just walk around the edges until it crumbles and make it basically starve it. Energy and environment, we want energy independence. We want to make sure that we're still pumping every single fucking place on earth for oil. That's what they mean by energy independence. And they want to reduce environmental regulations. They want to get rid of the environmental policies that Obama had, and they're overburdensome, and they want to promote policies that do economic growth. They were going for reproductive rights in 2016. That means you women, or you men that are you incels that lust after women. I'm sorry. I know I shouldn't categorize. You're my fans. I love you. I love the fact that anybody watched this. The one person right now watching live is amazing. Give me a star. I'd give you stars if I could. But social issues, of course, reproductive rights, you got to give it to them. Republicans did accomplish a crazy feat, a feat that we didn't think they could possibly do or wouldn't face any kind of backlash. They suggested to women that you no longer are in control of your body. The government decides, depending on the state you live in, and they got rid of Roe v. Wade. So that was in their 2016 platform. So if you're a Democrat, but if you're a Republican, you're all excited, right? I mean, this is great news. They got rid of Roe v. Wade. So, you know, all in all, 2016, what could go wrong? 2020, okay. Donald Trump got rid of abortion. Obviously, they didn't give a shit about anything else because they're like, we got abortion, so let's just redo whatever the fuck we said last year and say we're going to lick Donald Trump's butt. 2020 platform comes along, no changes. So everything I said, I'll summarize real quick. Just real quick. We'll go right through it. If I can pull up my notes. The economic growth and jobs, free market bullshit, size of government, healthcare, energy independence, make sure we drill, baby, drill, get rid of abortion. Religious freedom is also something that they always throw in there just to get people's ears ringing. That dog whistle says, woo, I don't want to be chastised during Christmas. And by the way, I was talking about that yesterday. You missed it, but I'm going to admit something to my conservative friends. I have a whole closet full of ammo ready for the war on Christmas. I don't take it lightly. Every Christmas, I plan, I strategize, I go to conventions to link up with other liberals, or as you may say, libtards, to plan for how are we going to fucking devastate and just torture all the folks that celebrate Christmas. And as you know, every year, the thing that we always come to the conclusion of is we say, instead of, I mean, we could take away presents. We could do all kinds of, maybe fucking make it rain, hail on Christmas. We have all kinds of power. But what we decided to do was, instead of saying Merry Christmas, we say Happy Holidays. This is the religious freedom that they have codified in 2016 that they want to defend. There's no persecution of Christianity in this fucking country. There's only victimization, and the fucking victim are the Christians saying that you can do what, even this language, you may not like it, but you're watching, turn it off. I'm not doing anything to you. I don't hate Christians. I don't hate any religions. I don't hate any people. I hate the things people do. And I don't even hate Donald Trump. As I said many, many times, in my 20s, we'd probably be doing 8 balls together or some shit. I don't know. I mean, it's just true. I didn't really care about characters, so fuck it. He sounds like a cool guy. He has a place to hang out. So I don't hate people. Okay, I don't hate Republicans. I don't hate people that come up with stupid ideas. I do not have a problem calling them stupid. And I've been known to use the R word. Retard. I gotta say it. I know it's gonna get some inbox, but it's one of those words that I'm not really comfortable giving back yet, at least the tard part. All right. So we went through the 2016. Let's jump to 2020. Nothing. Licked Donald Trump's butt. All right. 2025. This is what I was talking about. Nate, you took all this time to get to Project 2025. Well, what the fuck is it? Well, let's start. I had my team do some analysis on Project 2025. And the big things, there's really 4 main pillars that are in Project 2025 off the cuff before you dig in. Policy, and it's not really a platform document like I was talking about. So these 2 things are orthogonal, if you will, or they don't really link up, but they are together in some fashion, because what I was talking about, what they did in 2016 is a platform document. In 2020, they didn't do a platform document. They haven't done their platform document yet, but I'm saying that Project 2025 is essentially the first new codified document that we can get a hint of where the North Star of the Republican Party is. That's why I'm talking about it. So if you're all up in a tizzy about the fact that, well, Nate, Project 2025 is actually a presidential transition document, it's not a platform document. I get it, but they didn't do one in 2020. So that's why I'm saying, hey, look, wow, this Republican Party is going to come up with some ideas other than lick Donald Trump's anus, which I'm not kidding. I wish I didn't have to say anus so many times, but if you look at the Republican Party, it says something about heads and anuses, asses, whatever, part of Donald Trump. Polyp is in there, I think. It's weird as fuck. Project 2025. What's the big deal? It's not, the reason why I kind of hedged and said it's a little different than a platform document, because it's actually, in my opinion, better for the Republicans. And I'm not saying that because I wanted to execute on this, but it's actually more direct of a document. It has, this maybe is why it's scary. It has policy agenda in it. That's one of the 4 pillars. It also has a personnel database. And this is what's a little odd, right? You can understand it's odd. It's a network of conservative folks that have been vetted to implement and be ready to take positions in the government when he's elected. So that could be a little scary, right? This is just off the surface of the 4 pillars we're talking about. We've got policy agenda, personal database, we've got training, and they've got a 100-day playbook. So first one's policy agenda. That's why a large part of this maps to the old documents that I'm talking about, the platform docs. The first time we get to hear what they're going to fucking do. I'll get into that point. The second thing, which can raise some eyebrows, is saying we have a list of people that we trust that we're going to place them inside the federal government. They're all conservatives, and we're now going to replace federal lifetime employees with conservative vetted people. That sounds fucking crazy, to be honest with you. I know, as somebody who worked for state government, when you're in certain positions, you have to be nonpartisan. When I was working in constituent services, I couldn't be like, hey, you're calling to get help from the state rep. Hey, by the way, I can't help you because you're a Republican. No, you fucking just do whatever.
You don't go check their voting shit. I mean, you shouldn't. You might be able to, but you shouldn't. My Lord, you shouldn't. Of course, there's all kinds of voter collection that happens, and they're aggregating their database to build up for when they get elected. This is why it makes incumbents so hard, is they're building a database of connections. But as you learn in the government, you can't really use those connections and say, hey, let's get the Democrats together in this department and think about policy. No, you work with everybody and you're doing things, whatever that domain of that institution is. Well, if you work for the Department of Health, then you're probably some expert or some domain level expert in health. It really doesn't fucking matter if you're a Republican or Democrat. But now we've got Trump in the mix, and he's every single thing, judges, everybody. I saw a whole argument arguing against the conviction for Trump because people said the jury was paid for. I mean, Democrats have so much power. They can rig an election, they lose. They can rig an election, they win, but not barely. And then now they can also pay off jurors and sway the justice system, including presidential appointees. It's fucking nuts. But that's what you have. So you have everybody looking through this veil of whether someone's a Republican or Democrat, and that's going to decide whether they're fair or not. So Republicans have decided to put all of their own people that think like them, no variation of thought, no one thinking other side, just people that are gung-ho, and most likely if they're vetted as conservative, then they're going to pass some kind of test, some litmus test that's insanely tough, because you want to make sure they're not a Manchurian candidate, if you will, or a spy or a double agent. So you've now got these hardliners. This sounds not unlike what Hitler did when he got into power. I mean, it's not fucking crazy. It's history. It's not good to take people that are on your own and that replace long-time nonpartisan positions with partisan positions and think you're going to get efficiencies. You're going to get bottlenecks and more kerfluffle. Man, I'm on top of the German words today. Kerfluffle, shenanigans, Schadenfreude, ja sprechen, Pennsylvania Dutch. Didn't know I'm a black guy for listening to this for the first time. Yup. Not Amish. Anyway, back to Project 2025, where we started off talking about the 4 pillars, policy agenda, very similar. We'll get into that. Personal database, this is where it gets scary. They're putting their own people in, replacing mom, pa, who got their good federal jobs, who were able to buy a house, which is fair on a federal salary, nice pension. Now we're replacing them with minions or Hitler Youth or whatever the fuck aligns with the Republican Party to be vetted so that they have no doubt in their mind they're going to implement this plan. Hands down, eyes closed, going forward. That doesn't sound like good to me. But this is in Project 2025. So I can see why Democrats would get scared. Training, workshops, seminars, and online resource to prepare individuals that they're bringing in for government. So we're going to basically revamp the entire federal system with new vetted employees, and we're going to train them. This is a massive undertaking. No one's put dollars to this thing. This is massive. The inefficiencies of losing that guy that knows where the X, who now is fired, replaced with the crew cut guy that just got out of military, who really is just excited about the fact that he got a job in government because, his fucking tour, he didn't do much. I'm not saying anything about people in military, by the way. All about it. I'm not going to be like, fawning over people in the military. They choose that job where it's not compelled. But I support the fuck out of taking care of people when they come back from war. So while I'm not like, oh yeah, going to fawn over and think military. Oh, you went to the military. Now you're fucking better than everybody. No. But when they do go to the military, we take care of them. So while you're hearing whatever, I don't like military, I'm actually like, fuck you and your shit on military for shitting on it. There should be no homeless veterans out there. So don't come at my inbox saying, oh, I see you're anti-police and anti-military. No, not today, Satan. Back to Project 2025. We've got the personnel database, and then we've got the training program. This is the pillar of Project 2025. We've got policy. We'll get into that. We've got personnel, and then we got to train them. And then we've got a 100-day playbook to execute. So why I say it's better than a platform document, because it has more information. It has executable actions, actionable items in there that you can do to go forward. So this is almost like they're handing President Trump, here's your plan, follow it, you'll be fine. I'm not saying I like it. We didn't even get to the policy agenda, but I get it. And it makes sense, especially kind of being short attention span, getting Trump something that he can digest. If at all, he can get some form that somebody can go over it with him and say, look, there's 4 pillars. We're going to replace people. We're going to train them. And then we're going to check in at 180 days. That's the 4 things. But really, it sounds like they're trying to do what they've been saying, and that's reshape the government. We know they want to reshape the government. So let's dive into the details a little bit and see where, if Democrats have lost their mind. We can argue that it is worth losing your mind. Maybe not, pulling your hair out, but it is worth raising an eyebrow at putting your own people in there. Maybe more than one eyebrow, maybe 2 eyebrows, maybe like a head shake and a no, but not like, oh my God, the sky is falling. It's fucked up, but we're hoping the machinations of the government can keep these people in check. And by the way, the red tape is a feature. We want red tape because it needs to be auditable. Every time people say, oh, remove the red tape, what you're saying is just skip steps and not audit things. We want auditable, sunlight stricken laws and policy and operational protocols, because that allows us to investigate and see what is going on. Perfect example is the case of election fraud that Republicans have been making the claim to. But we can look at these states that have these protocols and policies and say, even with the Republican state attorney general, their Department of State, they are still doing the right thing. So that's the hope, right? So maybe not go up and scream. Look, they're going to get hired, but they're going to be stuck doing the same thing that everyone else do, and they're not going to be able to ask people what their political affiliation is. So, you know what? Yeah, that's crazy and bad, and we can make references to history, but putting their own people isn't enough to say, oh my God, this is the most dangerous election of the year. Now, we could argue Donald Trump puts that into the stratosphere, but we're not going there. We know every fucking year is the most important election. Every fucking year it is. Every time. Nonstop. Doesn't matter. But let's get into the policy of Project 2025. Started this talking about Project 2025. Project 2025 is the first time Republicans put together a plan that we can read and say, okay, this is where they're going. Not just, they use words that are ambiguous. What I mean by ambiguous is words that, which one? Is it hot or cold? Slow or fast? I can't tell. You use the word slast, or you just say slow or fast. Get my drift? Not trying to use big words, and ambiguity isn't a big word, but I want to make sure that everything's really clear, because this document is what Republicans are saying they're going to do. And we have to believe them. If we look at 2016, they said they want to reduce abortion rights. They fucking did it. So maybe they only got 1 out of 7, but they're doing these things. So we have to be vigilant of what's going to happen. And if you know, I've been a pessimist the whole time saying Donald Trump's going to be president. So this document's important to me. I want to see what the fuck these guys are up to and how they're going to infringe or give me freedom, quote unquote. Government structure. Okay. They're going to streamline federal agencies. They're always saying that shit. I don't agree with it, but they're going to reduce the size of the federal workforce, obviously. And they want to, at the same time, in the same sentence, limit regulatory overreach. So reducing the people that are going to regulate people is going to be a natural way to reduce regulation. We don't have enough staff to look at that case. The other thing they're going to do is also reduce regulation. What is regulation? You and I don't fucking run into regulations that affect us negatively for the most part, unless we're talking about healthcare or freedom. But in that case, this is governments that this is corporations, businesses that want no regulation. Like Nestle wants to fucking dump shit in our water and say, oh, you know what? There's no regulation. We'll just sell it cheaper. Who cares if people die? Talking about the economy, taxation. Here we go again. They're going to Implement tax reforms, reduce government spending, and promote free market principles. All right, we heard that before. 2016, here we come. Healthcare. 2016, you said you're going to repeal it. 2020, you're licking Donald Trump's butt, but you're doing the same thing 2016. 2024, here we go. We're going to repeal and replace the Affordable Care Act, and we're going to promote free market healthcare solutions. We're going to reduce government intervention in healthcare. By the way, that's important. They said they're going to reduce government intervention in healthcare. I don't know, man. My fucking brain is hurting because you just said you just got Roe v. Wade repealed, which is a monumental women's healthcare issue. And if you watch the show, you know I try to stay away from it because I don't have a vagina. I like vaginas. I don't have one. So I advocate that people that have vaginas should be able to do what they want with their vagina and do everything they want. And I'm being explicit because you need to remember this. I am not an abortion expert. I don't know shit. But I know that it seems weird to say government is no longer we're going to work on government having less interference in your life. And then at the same time repealing and saying, hey, government now has a major role in the procreation, in how you reproduce, in when you reproduce, in how long you carry the term, what your body eats. I mean, it's not far off. They're now, because they got the win with Roe v. Wade, they're not stopping. In this document, this is where it gets scary, is I had to go from personal responsibility in healthcare, reducing government intervention in healthcare. That is in the section for healthcare. But also increasing government's intervention in women's healthcare. So as I said yesterday, I think they're talking about is individuals. They don't consider women individuals. So when they're talking about individuals and reducing government intervention in healthcare for individuals, they don't mean women. How the fuck are you a woman or identify as a woman and continue to vote for Republicans? I know, because you're rich or because you're racist or what? What is it? What is it? What is it? Be honest. Don't just say taxes and government spending. It's getting ridiculous. If you're a woman and you're voting for Republicans and you think that abortion is just for people that are out freelance and sex and people are just using it for contraception, you're out of your fucking mind. You're lost. You have a small bubble and you need to get out of that party and read some books. Stop banning them, because healthcare and abortion rights are tied together. You can't say we're going to reduce government intervention in healthcare while simultaneously imposing rights on what a core feature of a woman we're now going to legislate and control. It's bizarre. I mean, go to Texas where you can get $10,000 a pop by reporting a woman who's getting an abortion. $10,000. Report the Uber, that driver, the driver that drove her there, $10,000. If you're looking for a job, go become an abortion vigilante in Texas. You think I'm fucking joking? Do it. You got it. You're going to have to get the tools to be able to measure, when contraception happened, when conception happened. And then you're going to have to ask some personal questions, but, carry the tools, find out what the gynecologist carries and make sure you have the equipment, and you should be able to make $10,000 a pop. If this was a joke and this was a long-winded bullshit joke, you could laugh. But check out the legislation they passed in Texas. You get rewarded for reporting abortions. So why not make a business of it? I mean, that's capitalism, right? Someone's got to see that opportunity. If not me, if not you, then who? Why make it a stranger? Take over your life. Go become a vigilante in Texas where you can hunt women and check to see whether or not they are meeting the requirement that the government has set for how long they must hold how much they must hold to term, their pregnancy, carried to term. See, I can't even say the shit right. Now, I went off on that point because we did see Republicans get a victory in the right to have an abortion. I disagree with it. I'm hoping a lot of the country does too. And I'm hoping we see the light of day because, as someone who's not a physician, nor am I a woman. It seems like all the things that go along with abortion, besides the one initial act that maybe I could participate in, is up to them. It's up to them. It doesn't matter. And that thing that's growing inside them, I said thing, is not something that we can actually call a viable human being. Just because it has a heartbeat doesn't mean you pull it out, give it some milk, it's going to suckle. And that to me isn't even the best thing, that it's a viable human being. I'm talking about the life of the woman. Yeah, I went there. When it comes down to picking, I'm going to pick the woman every day, all day over the baby. The woman can have another baby. I'm sorry, the baby loses. I'm talking about a baby, not talking about a fetus. Did you notice the difference? All right. So I'm saying that, like, if a baby, if you have a decision between a baby and a mother, and there's some decision you have to make, do you take the baby or the mother? I take the mother. Why? Because the mother can have another baby. Yes, I went there. And I know that's not analogous to abortion, but to me, then if that's my default position, it's easy to make every other decision because I'm going to take the woman. And I'm not even getting to the whole thing about it. But the morality for me is that moral question. If you pose it to me, I'm going to say, look, you got a baby hanging over a cliff or a woman hanging over a cliff. Who do you keep? I keep the woman. The woman can make more babies. I'm sorry. I'm not throwing the baby's gone. Yes. I know I went from funny to horrible to morbid to Nate. I'm a monster. Yes. And I even used the word retard today. Call it quits. Stop subscribing to YouTube every day. I'm joking. You need to subscribe, follow TikTok, YouTube. That's where it's at. The abortion issue is where they won. And so they're now putting things in Project 2025 to take that further. And this is where now Democrats maybe should start pulling out their hair. They want to remove the term abortion from every law, any federal law. There should be no reference to it. It is now a criminal act. Anything that would prevent the conception of the egg fertilizing or the sperm fertilizing the egg would be considered an abortion. So your birth control, gone. That's the next step. So Project 2025 is codified. We're going after birth control. We're going after anything that could lead to potentially disallowing that baby to come to term. It's considered. So condoms, I mean, I'm not sure how they're going to allow condoms, because condoms do the stop right away. Are they saying, look, once the sperm touches the egg, then you can't touch it. Nothing. So plan B, of course, plan B's out. That's just abortion in a pill, according to them. Right. But we're talking about anything. I mean, normal abortion or normal birth control pills basically force you to shed that thing and throw out the egg as if it's just an egg. Like that's something there's going to be another one coming. You know what I mean? I know I'm spending a little bit more time on this, but this is the stuff that makes people pull their hair out. You already got the right to inject government into women's lives, and now you're going after fucking contraception. You think I'm joking? There was a TikTok going around with the senator grilling a woman. Hey, do you believe that birth control is abortion? And she pivoted and just swatted left and right, back and forth, and didn't answer the question because she is of the opinion that that is also preventing that child from becoming a human being that they can shit on eventually. You know, because they don't give a shit once it's out of the womb. They're like, hey, pull yourself. Hey, you don't got any boots? Fuck you. You're fucked. Pull yourself up. Better build some boots. We need bootstrappers, people that pull up themselves up by their bootstraps. They don't give a shit about what's inside the womb, except for the fact that they control a woman. And if you think that I'm joking about controlling a woman, what the fuck else is it? What else is it? But when you get down to these arguments, it comes down to their morality is being imposed on these women. Well, she should have been responsible, because they'll stay away from the rape thing. They'll stay away from it. Most smart people that are pro-life will say, yeah, well, you know what, that one I have to give them because, you know, but you know, the hardliners are like, no way, man, that kid's going to grow up to be an amazing father and son, and it's going to be great. We're just going to have this little rapist kid. It's going to be awesome. And maybe that's fine for you, but some people might not want that memory. And maybe that is a memory to them. And so they have the option to terminate that pregnancy before it becomes a viable human being that they have to support, knowing that they're supporting their rapist forever. I mean, this one is an easy one for conservatives to take the right one on, but they don't. They mess it up and they say, nope, we're just across the board. Rape, you got raped by your dad, you're having his baby. I mean, they don't give a shit. I mean, they're down there in Tennessee, like kind of being upset about the fact that they're raising the age from 14 to 16 for legal marriage. I shit you not. There's a senator on TikTok talking about how, like, well, you know, I wouldn't have came about if it wasn't for my parents who got married and they were it's like first cousins and they were 14 or some shit. Maybe I added a couple extra facts like I did to the Republican platform about the anus thing, but I'm pretty sure I saw it in there. So if you don't believe me, you always got to double check everything I say. Don't fucking take everything I say for what it's worth. But jokes aside, we're getting into Project 2025 policy and we're getting to the scary part, which is, all right, we've got people that we're replacing our longtime workers with our own vetted conservative minions. And then we're also going to make sure that we remove every single fucking thing that references abortion. We're going to criminalize anything that does cause an abortion. We're also going after the brown people. We're going to build the wall. That's all happening too. But you notice that these things that they going for are things that people use to create more freedom for themselves. By being able to decide when or how you'll carry a baby, if you will or won't, gives you options. Now, it's a little different today, but this is because it's become a lot more normalized to have a baby out of wedlock than it was 25, 35, 40 years ago. But, you know, that was a scarlet letter. And so women had, you know, women were like, all right, well, I'm pregnant and now my whole life changes and I have to do this. And, you know, they didn't have options because even if it was your dad, you had to go maybe to Europe or somewhere else and have this baby and then come back in and act like nothing happened. That was the way it was. And people are like, oh, no, it's not that way anymore. I know it's not that way anymore. That's a good thing, but we can't roll back to the place to put the things in place that are going to take us back. Fuck. It's so bizarre. It's why I don't understand how they're putting this in writing. And then people are like, okay, this sounds like a good idea. Education is something they've been coming after. That's also has a spot in Project 2025. In particular, they want to push what they like to call school choice. And this one's another marketing term that really means money for that I can send my kid wherever. And I don't want to, because I have a cheap house in the poor neighborhood, I want to send my kids somewhere else. Oh, more than that, though, I want to fund my private homeschool thing and get all the benefits that you get, pay my teachers, who's a parent, and have my kid become this homeschool hybrid, you know, because he plays. I don't know. It's just they want the money to do what they want with it. They do not want to invest in the public system because that's fucking communism. They want to have choice instead of lifting up the American system as the best educational system in the world. Let's make it that. We now want to make it so that we have choices because there's shitty schools in here. Well, how about we get rid of the shitty schools? Why do we have property values tied to the quality of education? Absolutely insane, totally racist, classist bullshit. Excuse me. Anyway, so where are we at? Project 2025. I'm getting through the agenda. We can start to see why Democrats are pulling their hair out. We're going to get rid of the abortion from all. It's almost as if abortion's not a thing. And if you mention it, you're going to jail. That's Project 2025. We're centralizing power. Another feature is centralizing power, reducing and streamlining these executive branches and all these other departments is really to put more power in the executive branch, not offload that to a department or another, institution, which could actually reduce the amount of power that a dictator-like person might have, which is, again, what Republicans have been saying they're going to do. These aren't things I'm making up. I'm not making conspiracy. These are things you can read, you can watch them say. So why did I spend time going over this boring fucking document that I really know you don't give a shit about? You're probably just like, okay, Nate, what? You really didn't do that much shit. Because it is worth reading. You should do some research. You should understand it and find out whether you align with these things that are happening in here, and look at previous platforms and see that it's the North Star. Just because something's pie in the sky doesn't mean they're not going for it. That's why I want to see in the Democratic platform every single fucking time that we have public health care. We have health care for all, Medicare for all, whatever you want to call it, that we have a public high-end functioning healthcare system that doesn't allow people to go broke and cost millions of dollars, and allow you to have better treatment, even preventative treatment, if you have money or you have a job. Just because you're living, I believe you should be taken care of. I know it's a low bar, but if you're born into this world, if you get through the abortion machine that Democrats are cranking out, wink, wink, nod, nod, then I believe you should be able to do whatever you want, right? All right, let me see. I went almost an hour, and I'm hoping this sounds good. I'm hoping you got something out of it, but let me try to put a bow on it and put everything together. I started off talking about the old 2016 platform, but I put the moniker or the placard together to point out that you may hear Project 2025 in the ether, and people talking about, people kind of mumbling, yes, I wrote it or I support it, and maybe shuffling away from it the deeper you get into it, because we should uncover it. It's like Rick Scott when he came out with his Social Security plan, which was basically like raising the age of retirement and then removing and privatizing Social Security and Medicare. So it's like he said it out loud, and then he was like, oh, well, I'm not really going to do that. And then he went on all the shows and said, that's not what I really meant. That's not, you're misinterpreting it. No, he's going to do it. And he's going to say, see, look, I said I wrote that a long time ago. You guys didn't believe me. Oh, no, that's not what he meant. Listen, from now on, I take it for what they mean. So I'd like to see Democrats put in the Republic or the Democratic platform, we want a public option. I know it might not happen, but let's put it in there because we know that's the North Star. Republicans are doing it. The other thing they did, by the way, they put in the 2016 one, which I forgot to mention today, what I did yesterday, was the judiciary. They've been busting their ass to get their appointed judges in, and Trump killed it, slaughtered it, hit a grand slam 3 times, 4 times, as many times you want. Mitch McConnell was throwing new judges in, bypassing approvals, making shortcuts, going around people to get the votes, and they did a good job. So Republicans said they were going to change go after the judiciary branch and put their non-activist judges in their place, and they did a good job. 2016, 2020, I would say they were wildly successful. I talked about that a lot. Not good for Democrats in the judiciary branch. Trust me. These appeal judges can have a lot of power. But Republicans did it. So Republicans said, hey, we're gonna appoint judges that are non-activists, but really activists in our favor. We're also going to reduce abortion. We want to repeal abortion legislation. They did it. So now when they say in Project 2025, the think tank, Heritage Foundation, the money bags think tank that's putting policy together, literally hands legislators policy documents, puts together a program, and it has buried into it all this language that suggests centralizing power, putting our own people in, removing long-term employees, and then also removing any indication or any reference to abortion in any law, and moving it into a criminal case instead of any kind of health issue, is mind-boggling scary. Maybe not if you're a woman. Maybe you're like, big deal. We didn't even talk about the guns right and codifying all that shit. But these things are worth looking into, and they're enough for your average person to go, wait a second. What do you mean they're going to fire all these people? Yeah, I understand government needs to reduce its size, but putting your own lackeys in, doesn't that sound like weird? And I mean, just a recipe for trouble. We know what nepotism is. That's when you get your brothers in. Now you're saying, my church brothers, whatever. We're just putting people that I know and trust, and they exactly think like me. I get why you might want to do that. And you might think on the surface that's a good idea, but God, that's a bad idea. We're talking about now everything be on label. You think it's divisive now. Wait till you put people that are just conservatives. And then they're looking around going, you know what? Why the fuck are we even helping Democrats? Let's fucking say fuck you. Let's get everyone's registration up front. That way we know whether we have to waste our time with this libtard or these Republicans that we're trying to help. That's what you're going to have just on the surface. There's other things that are going to happen. This isn't rocket science, folks. I'm not a fucking genius, but this is in the platform. This is them saying what they want to do. And they're saying this because they want to get things done. And they are deathly scared of anything that's going to take away from their future theocracy. And obviously their fantasy role play with Israel and all the crazy shit that they have built into their agenda. Look at it. Look at the document. I'm not shitting you. Israel's in there. With all the stuff they have built into this document, it's worth taking the time to understand it, or watch me and I'll tell you it's fucking scary. Okay? The conclusion is it's scary. No to Project 2025. How are you writing Project 2025 and saying, wait, does this go against the ideals of some of the ways our country, for the reasons that our country was founded? Maybe I should rethink this. Don't you ever do that? Not at a think tank, baby. If I had a think tank and I wanted a policy to say, you know what? I want a policy that makes it so that every fucking person has to watch Smashing the Party in the morning before they go and get their coffee, before they do anything. And I'm going to spend trillions of dollars, and it's a crazy policy, but over hundreds of years, eventually I'm somehow going to find a way, because I'm going to have the smartest people doing everything possible, somehow making it, hey, you know what? Maybe this is how we go. By performing a ritual every morning, you will add 15 years to your life. Typically, if that ritual is of the nature where it causes either some tension or whatever, now you can add. And so now I've created this whole study around the fact that watching Nate's podcast is actually a health benefit. So we get that in the ether. And do you see what I'm saying? With a think tank, you could do a lot of things. And so I wish I had a think tank. I don't like rich people having think tanks. I certainly want to investigate any legislation coming out of a fucking rich person's think tank. Wow, you said Heritage Foundation? Yeah, I'm going to double check that to make sure it's not some crazy shit. Oh, wow. I looked at Project 2025 and I looked at all the Democrats running around pulling their hair out thinking they're crazy. No, they're not crazy. That's some crazy ass shit in Project 2025. Read it for yourself. Ask the people that wrote it. Why are they not proud of it? Because it's written like almost as if Donald Trump was in the room and he's nodding yes or no. No, I don't like that. And I wouldn't be surprised, because we already know, based off of Rewind, Republicans codified it in 2020. What'd they do? What is it? They codified that Donald Trump's asshole would envelop the Republican Party and they would become one. And so you have them coming up with this dumb shit. And Donald Trump probably did nod yes or no. I won't support that. I kid you not. That's how sycophantic they are. That's a big word. Look it up. Sycophants. Bunch of Republicans are sycophantic about Donald Trump worshiping someone with cult-like adoration. Made that up, but it's something to that effect. The point is, you can use that word now too. It's a great word. When you talk about Trump supporters, you can say they're sycophants. Someone's going to be like, wow, you used a cool word. It is a cool word. But what you don't want to do is be one. Don't be a sycophant. Don't swallow the Kool-Aid. Ask questions. You just got a little tiny primer on Project 2025. I didn't go through every single point. I didn't go through the 180-day plan. I didn't go through the whole database of people that they have and who's who and trying to check them against my list. I didn't do all that shit. You can do that on your own. But you come here to get sparks. You come here to get some inspiration, maybe to fall asleep. Hopefully you listen and then you're like, damn, this guy's on fire. Check him out, and you tell people about it. But tonight's podcast, live stream, whatever you want to call it, rant, was really to lay the groundwork for some understanding about what Project 2025 was. My team of researchers put together a nice dossier for me to read it, understand it. I went through the policy, had some conversation with my team, and I brought this to you. It's interesting. This may not be my flash in the pan. I'm going to really light the sky with paint the sky with lights podcast that's going to break through that barrier I need to break through. But I think it's important for folks that understand or that even watch and enjoy the rants and the anger that these folks are organized at a high level. Not voting is absolutely not an option, because these folks not only vote, they put think tanks together that then create policy, that then create platforms that drive this country in the one direction or the other. And I'm not saying whether we get behind think tanks or not, but that's scary shit. And so it's helpful for you to understand Heritage Foundation. Maybe that's a new one for you, but look it up. Project 2025. Maybe this is the first time you heard about it. Maybe you never heard of a platform document. You didn't even understand this is how it works. Great. Go do more research. You didn't come here to learn it all. You came here because I have spicy opinions and I try to put a little humor in it. And I mean, it's fucking good entertainment. Don't lie. You fucking fall asleep to it. All right. I'm going to wrap. I feel like I did last night's justice. I covered most of the points. I think I'll watch again in my jarbled soliloquy from yesterday how, I'll try to interpret what I was saying. But I wanted to get across these points, and that was Republicans had a platform in 2016. They skipped one in 2020. Now Project 2025 is kind of the ad hoc best we've got platform for what Republicans are going to do. And under closer scrutiny, we can see that it's bullshit and they're just trying to take away more rights and do more things to roll us back to times where things were apparently the good old days, but really we know that they weren't the good old days because everything looking back is nostalgic when you're not actually getting whipped and chained, right? I mean, what the fuck are the good old days anyway? What is that? I don't know, but I think of the good old days for me are when I was happy, young, and free, and other people were happy, young, and free, or whatever, right? So this whole notion that we're rolling back and we're going to conserve, that's what these conservative think tanks are always looking to do. They're keeping the status quo, conserve, protect, status quo, not moving forward. If you're looking for changes, you're not going to get them from the Republican Party. You're going to get things that are going to take away. We can dismantle an institution. We can take away this right. We can't give you things, though. They don't give things. They take away. That's a good way to kind of summarize what they're looking to do in 2025, and that is take away more women's rights, take away more freedoms by taking away the freedom for you to have a good education by putting that money into homeschools and other places instead of funding public education properly and making it so that your zip code doesn't determine outcomes. We could do some of that stuff, but instead they're going after LGBTQ rights. They're also aggressively going after that, milking in the theocracy and their moral high horse to suggest that their gender affirming care is the way to go. This is all stuff they're putting in writing, folks. I didn't even cover it all. I just tried to cover on the kind of light you up and get you off your ass stuff, which abortion, even if you're a male, I mean, guys, you're part of the equation here. You kind of want to advocate for women to be able to be responsible for themselves for all kinds of reasons, not only because you respect and love women and their beauty, but because you also understand that this is a person who has autonomy over something that you may or may not understand. All right. I'm going to get off my high horse about abortion. I know I go there and I don't stop. And if you're pro-life and you're thinking this is really annoying, hear me talk about that. Well, fuck off. You got Roe v. Wade repealed. So I'm really not even talking to you. I think you've got your way and I think it's short-sighted. So this message wasn't for you. A little spicy meatball, aren't I? All right. What do we got here? Well, we always say thank you for the things that we get, and it's been a great run. Last night was tough because it's hard to put that out there and just know that people are not watching it. And not only that, they'll probably watch it and just kind of snicker, like, what a failure. I know nobody really does that, but it's embarrassing. And I still get good feedback. I get people that are interested, and it's so nice. I know I work with folks here at the Candy Factory who support me on a daily basis. I think sometimes they may avoid me because they're like, oh, I don't want to talk to Nate because he's probably going to talk about his fucking podcast. I promise you, if I see you, I'm not thinking about my podcast. I'm hoping you don't talk about it. It is nice to hear, though, and I want to say thank you to all the folks that come up to me and say, hey, it sounds good, or give me constructive criticism. I love this. I think I'm getting better. I'm determined to become better at this. I'm determined to become as good as I possibly can be. And I know from past experience that I have high potential. So if you've been supporting me this whole time and wondering where the fuck I'm going, it's going to be up. It's going to continue to get better. I'm going to continue to get spicy. And I guarantee you that you're going to see more and more whiz bang shenanigans and fun to keep you drawn in, because the thing we're doing here is important. We're educating, we're inspiring, we're pissing people off, we're calling truth to power. We're doing Nate's therapy, maybe your therapy, maybe we're putting people to sleep. But guess what? We're in the mix. We're living, we're participating, we're trying to let people hear our voice. And I love it. And it's a dream come true. And I appreciate all the support. I can't tell you how often those moments come when I'm just like, fuck this. What the fuck am I doing up against the stream? I mean, there's everybody and their mothers running a podcast, the live stream, and they're doing interviews way better. Shannon Sharp took my fucking name. Nightcap was mine. I had it first. And now you hashtag Nightcap on YouTube and it's him. That motherfucker. And he's big. But you know what? There's nothing special about Shannon Sharp except for the fact that he's a world-class football player and famous and rich. But when it comes to emoting and articulating what's up here, out here, and inspiring, no one can do it better. I promise you. I'm going to get that good. And I'm not just trying to have delusions of grandeur here. I'm determined at it. This is a side gig that I love, look forward to. I try to cobble together as much time as I can to improve the thing. And I'm doing the work now. So you're in for a hell of a ride. I appreciate the journey. Somebody went and resubscribed to the podcast. So we're going to be getting subscriptions back up. We're going to be getting the blog back up. All that stuff. I have it all. We're turning it back up. Smashing the Party. If you don't know, it's getting more reach than my personal profile. My personal profile has 5,000 followers. So Smashing the Party is now leading the pack. That's all because of you with a little bit of me, but you keep me inspired and you keep watching and you keep doing the thing. And I love it. I don't care if you get tired of me saying thank you. I love it. Sometimes I get emotional thinking about the fact that people actually take time out of their day to watch me lay down some fucking pipe on this fucking mic. And it blows me away. I'm flattered. I love it. Thank you. Please subscribe. We are going to get to 100 on YouTube. If you're watching for the first time, you're like, dude, fuck this podcast. I'm not an early adopter. Hang in there, because you're not an early adopter if you jump on. I've been doing this for a while. I have a large reach. My YouTube doesn't reflect the reality of how many people are inspired by this motherfucker. So subscribe, join. I think I've done the pitch hard enough. I'll be back on Monday. We've got an interview. I didn't do an interview last weekend because I had a script running all weekend and I could not get the thing to stop, besides the fact I didn't have one lined up that didn't flake on me. So we'll have after hours going this weekend. We're going to up our game again. Not sure if it's going to be in person or not, but as you can see, I did the little glow. I have other tricks and things that are going to make it more appealing, trying to stop that person from scrolling past me in their feed. We're going to do it. We're going to go somewhere. Thanks for checking in. Make sure you stop by Monday, Thursday, 10:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Preferably watch me on YouTube. Preferably follow me on TikTok. But we are going to call this a success when we get to 10,000 on every platform. It's not a huge lift. We can do it. Maybe take us a couple years, but we got this. Thanks for joining in. Hope you learned something about Project 2025. I just touched on it. It wasn't comprehensive. It wasn't Mehdi Hassan or a fucking goddamn professor, but it wet your whistle to learn more. And I think you should do that. That's what we love here. We like inspiring. So go learn more about it. Find out what you don't like. Find out what you do like. And maybe you're a Republican. You realize that your party's lost, jumped the shark, and maybe it's time to leave. That would be fantastic news. If that happens, please, for the love of Sky Daddy, send me a message. Say, you know what? I did it. You fucking convinced me. I dropped the Republican Party, and now I'm an independent or Democrat. That'd be great. Anyway, as you know, I've gone over my hour. I now can no longer post this video to TikTok. So I need you to follow, like, subscribe it. That's all I got to say. Make sure I'll see you Monday. Don't drink and drive. Be safe. Do all that stuff. After hours, party, safe. Make sure you check out your videos. What the best thing to do is get a glass of wine, turn on Smashing the Party, go to the YouTube channel and just watch it from the beginning. Follow the journey. Look at the grainy camera. Get into it. Feel the improvement. And then fast forward today. Tell me you ain't seen improvement. Love it. See you guys Monday. Let's see if we can have a fancy out. Can we do a fancy out? I don't know. Let's see if we can do a fancy fist bump out to something cool. What do we got? All right. I'm going to do a fancy out. Ready for it? Missed it. It's not really fancy, but I don't even have a background. And I can't stop it. Awesome.